Prime Minister talked about Manipur conflict in Rajya Sabha, where he made a statement in the upper house that violence has been on a decline in the state and the centre is committed to bringing normalcy since the conflict broke out in Manipur over a year ago. He also added that the history suggests that social tensions in the state are deep-rooted. Over 200 people and incidents of people who were killed have been reported, but this year the incidents of violence have definitely reduced. He also added that about 11,000 FIRs have also registered so far, and they were brought down to 3,000 and more than 500 people have been arrested. Moreover, Manipur crisis is also a part of the resolution of the centre's 100-day plan. Now, the big question is, what is the government's action plan to solve the Manipur crisis? We'll discuss this with our guest. Joining us on the show to talk more about this is Joyita Basu, editor of the Sunday Guardian. Major Mohammad Ali Shah, defense expert, also with us on the program. Mr. Sumit P, senior political commentator, also joins us on the program. Last but by no means the least, Mr. RVS Mani, former Under Secretary, Ministry of Home Affairs, also with us on the show. Welcome everyone. Sumit P, I'll begin with you. Well, let me not start the show with what the Prime Minister said. Let me start the show by telling you or reiterating or paraphrasing what Jairam Ramesh had to say, that the government has lied about Manipur. They've had ample opportunity, and it's only after the opposition, including leaders like Mahua Moitra, spoke about Manipur that the Prime Minister thought it was necessary to address this issue. Although when we look at these numbers, where the FIRs have reduced, the number of people who've been arrested has also reduced, the stories coming out of Manipur related to violence and arson and human rights offences has also reduced. What do you make of this entire situation? And does this hyperbolic tone of this new opposition with a new leader in tow now have any bearing on what the conflict is going to be in Manipur in the next few days? Because as far as I know, the opposition hasn't done much in Manipur themselves to placate things.
Very much for having me on your show. Let me begin with, the opposition seems to be believing that they have got more members this time and they can run their way through the house. Run. The word is run their way through the house. Now, if Jairam Ramesh thinks that Mahua Moitra has the intellect and intelligence more of the Honorable Prime Minister of India, then he's entitled to his opinion. We can only have a laugh on it. That's what it is. And knowing the track record of Mahua Moitra, what all she has been through, what are the kind of allegations which are on her. So let's not get into that. Now, let's get into the facts. Manipur, things are better. Why? First of all, you have to understand what happened in Manipur. How many thousands of acres of poppy cultivation was destroyed? This poppy trade which was happening through Manipur, that was destroyed. We have sealed our border with Myanmar. We had a pact that they could come here and we could go there. We have done that. 1,100 FIRs have been registered. And this time there was no ban, there was no blockade, there was no ban. Remember 1993, there was a 5-year-old kind of embargo, I would say. Nothing has happened. Now more than 500 people have been arrested. The incidents of violence have kind of come down. I'm not saying they're over. Schools and colleges are functional. The life is going as usual. Now, if this is not what has happened in Manipur, and state governments were not dismissed. Incidentally, the Congress has dismissed the governments 10 times. So opposition seems to be kind of losing the basics and forgetting the mathematics around it. They just want to make Manipur as an issue because Prime Minister has not visited there. Unka ek hi point hai. Why you have not visited Manipur? They want to make an issue out of this. So why did Manipur reach such a situation? What have you done against poppy cultivation? What have you done against the insurgency? What have you done against the so-called militancy in Northeast? Mr. Amit Shah has spent time there, and Minister of State for Home Affairs, Greh Mantri, Home Ministry has spent weeks there. How many ministers have been going to Northeast? Every day, almost every week, there's a cabinet minister there. So when these things are happening, when the Northeast is progressing, suddenly they cannot fathom this thought. They cannot be seen, they're left behind. So what they want to know, okay, there's a problem in Manipur, it is because of Modi, and it is because of Modi has failed. If Modi ji had failed, then there'll be so a whole of the problem in complete Northeast. Why you are not talking about the poppy? Why you are not talking about the 6 lakh kilos of drugs being burned? What is the value of that drug? If you disturb money of that proposition, if you disturb the drug trade, if you disturb the poppy cultivation, if you seal your borders with Myanmar, there are people who will get irked. When the people get irked, they will find a reason to have the state on fire. And look, Indian Army has done a commendable job in complete of Northeast. The insurgency levels are down. See how many so-called militants have kind of surrendered. There's a lot of peace and prosperity there. Look at the GDPs of Northeast in 2014 and the GDP of Northeast in 2024. There's a substantial increase there. If there is no peace and tranquility, how is it possible? Yes, Manipur had problems. Manipur, there are some having problems, but it is being handled. The work is done. There is no blockade. There is no economic blockade there. People can go, people can come. There are things which we need to iron out. And let's not forget China is involved in this. Manipur, whatever you are seeing, Vineet, there is a big hand of China. And China was, kind of doing it through Arakan's army, through Myanmar. We are plugging all the loopholes, we are plugging all the gaps, but it is work in progress. Do not expect miracles overnight. That is the limited point I would say. And if opposition believes that Mahua Mohitra ji is such a great and such a woman of intellect, which I believe she might be, then the leader of opposition should be given to her. I think at least they would have some saving grace and giving to Rahul Gandhi. Why don't Jairam Ramesh ji propose her name as the leader of opposition? If she thinks she's so good, then why don't you retire Rahul Gandhi, relieve him from the duties? He can go on the Vishwa Brahman, he can go to all his favorite places, and let Mahua Maitra be the leader of opposition. That's a good suggestion we can give through NewsX, Vineet.
All right, Major Mohammad Ali Shah also with us on the broadcast. Mohammad Ali Shah, of course, as we know, and I've reiterated that in the past as well, has served in Manipur. He understands this terrain and this populace and, of course, the respective communities who are fighting like no other. Ali, have problems in Manipur completely vanished, or do you concur and concede to the thought that the Prime Minister has put out in the upper house as well, that things will take to normalize? This is not a recent fight. This is not a very, very recent squabble or a phenomena. It has been happening for a long time. It definitely will take its own course.
Okay, yeah, Vineet, that's a very, very good question. Now, the very fact is the Prime Minister said that the violence has gone down in Manipur. He's right. The violence has gone down in Manipur, but just because the violence has gone down in Manipur does not mean that things are normal. Things are back to normal in Manipur. No, things are still very disturbed there. The tension persists between the Meiteis and the Meitei community and the Kuki tribe. There is very much tension. There is no Kuki today who can dare to board a flight and land at Imphal airport or go to Imphal market and freely roam around there. There is no Meitei who can go to a Kuki-dominated area like More or Churachandpur. There is no Meitei over there. So they are segregated. So when they are segregated, obviously, who will they attack? Who will they fight with? There is no one being attacked at the moment. Thankfully, I hope it remains this way. But is that normal? That is definitely not normal, Vineet. It's definitely not normal. And I will not go by what Jairam Ramesh said or what the Prime Minister is the Prime Minister of the country. Yes, he is right by saying that violence has gone down. But where the very fact is, anyone, be it irrespective, whoever tries to politicize Manipur, I will stand up against it. Whoever it could be. Now, I don't care. I want peace for my Manipur brethren. I want peace for my loving brothers and sisters over there, irrespective whether they are Meiteis, Kukis, or thankfully the Naga that haven't stepped in, or whether they're Naga or whoever, or they're Sanamai or anyone. I want peace for them. Now the very fact is, Vineet, if you segregate two people who are two warring factions, obviously there will be no violence over there. I would go by the Manipur MP Bimol Okoijam, who I had the honor of interacting with and knowing personally on a very close basis. Professor Bimol Okoijam in Parliament said, if you can feel the pain in my voice, you would know what I'm talking about. And it's a fact, Vineet. I'm wearing the Assam Rifles tie. And Assam Rifles does a commendable job. They have a very fine Director General of the Assam Rifles, Lieutenant General Pradeep Nair. But, always there's a flack which comes on people who work, people who do good job. The very fact is Assam Rifles have faced flack over there, Army has faced flack over there, but they have done a commendable job. They have done selfless service. They have been unmindful of their own personal safety and they've gone beyond the call of duty. A colleague of mine, they were the mob he was addressing at the last year.
Okay, all right. Sumit wants to quickly respond to what you have said. Sumit perhaps quickly wants to respond to what you have said, and then we'll rope in Joyita Basu as well. Sumit, quickly.
With due respects to Major Saab, I don't believe that a cookie cannot go to a Methi and Methi cannot go to a cookie. If that was the case, then schools and colleges will not be open. Point number one, the life would not be normal. Yes, there are problems, but if you compare with 1993 and all, I have given all the facts. Nobody is talking about the poppy, how many thousands of acres of poppy cultivation is destroyed. Who was doing the poppy cultivation? Who was getting the weapons from the Myanmar? Where was Arakan's army involved? And let me tell you, there is also reports in the media, Vineet, wherein there is alleged that some Western powers, I would not name them for the sake of decency only, they were trying to cut a Christian state out of Manipur. We know all these conspiracies are going on, and if you look at the quantum of trouble which our neighbors and which all the militant groups, so-called militant groups, who basically do drug peddling and all were involved, and if you look at what is happening there, we have reached a very comfortable situation. Yes, it is not normal, but it was not man-made. When there has been problems in Manipur, it is not BJP came into power or Prime Minister Modi came into power. It happened. In fact, the cleanup of Manipur for permanent peace was done by Prime Minister Modi, was done by Amit Shah ji. Why we are not debating and talking that? Who was feeding this so-called militancy? Where was the money coming? What about the narco dollar? What about the Chinese influence? What about this so-called cutting a Christian state? We know all the conspiracies which are going on. We don't want to talk about them, but in the national security interest, but we know things have gone better and cookies and methis have lived there for centuries. Vineet, it's not about cookies and methis, it is the vested interest. When vested interests come, do you think every cookie wants to kill every methi or every methi
Okay, all right. I take your point. Let me also rope in Joyita into this conversation. Mr. Mani is also joining us on the broadcast. Ali wants to respond, but before that, let me get to what Joyita thinks about this entire situation. Joyita, did the Prime Minister put this into perspective? That this is not a squabble between neighbors. It is something which has been going on for the better half, part of the last 3 decades, and definitely to find a permanent resolution and solution, it is going to be time consuming.
Absolutely. You see, and the most importantly, what is needed is to rise above politics. And that is one thing I would say, I don't think either side, I mean, even if the Prime Minister is appealing for it, I don't think the opposition, as we can see, as Major Muhammad Ali Shah, they are willing to rise above the politics of it, because this is one stick they think they can beat in fact, not the BJP anymore. I mean, the opposition sole focus is now on Prime Minister Modi. And if you look at, say, for example, what Jairam Ramesh is talking about, and say Mahua Moitro, I mean, frankly, every time they speak of when Mahua Moitro rises up to talk about any issue, I find it, quite amusing, because she has got into the typical habit of the Trinamool people, where they will all point to Gujarat, to UP, to Manipur, but will not look at what is happening right next door in Bengal. Women are being thrashed over there, flogged in public, as it happened by Trinamool leaders, and Trinamool MLAs are sitting there and talking about a Muslim Rashtra and endorsing it. But no, Mahua Moitro's focus is now on Manipur, okay, all of them. So that is the problem. They are not going to look at what is the kind of inefficiency, bad governance. I mean, all of them, all the opposition states, whoever is in power in whatever state, I mean, be it the CPM in Kerala, be it the Congress in Karnataka or Telangana, all of them are epitomes of bad governance. So at the same time, when you look at that, all that they can see is it's Manipur. But yes, of course, does that mean that Manipur should not be looked at? Of course, Manipur should be. Of course, Manipur should be taken care of. But yes, I agree with Sumit that you have to look at the larger picture. This is much more than a regional, ethnic conflict. It is not even a religious conflict. Although there are people who are trying to make it into an Hindus killing Christians. But it's all part, there are so many forces that are at work there. And one of the reasons is the drug business. So unless and until you understand what it's about, unless and until you are willing to make peace, to bring peace, there is no solution. And it is not the first time that this kind of enmity has happened or is happening. As we have, as my earlier speakers mentioned, this has happened throughout the decades. Congress has presided over some of the worst crises that we have seen in the Northeast. In fact, what actually has happened during the last 10 years of Prime Minister Modi's governance, I mean, the Prime Minister himself, I think we have lost count of the number of times he has been visiting the Northeast, and the number of the kind of work in terms of infrastructure and all that has started over there. And it's the people, you go to Assam, you go to any of the border states that side, they admitted that a huge amount of work has happened. So you see what this whole conspiracy, I mean this whole Jairam Ramesh and Congress and all, they think now that they have now the mandate, that people have voted them to power, so they can talk anything, any nonsense that they want, they can speak. So the thing that they think, while it is the business of the opposition to oppose, but let's be constructive, not be so nasty, you know, and that is what the opposition has coming to epitomize our opposition. I mean, plain nasty and clueless at times, and it's a fact that many of these things they are lying. It has been caught. It has been caught, and they're bent on destroying. Okay, they are bent on spreading discord. While we need a strong opposition, the opposition has to be constructive, not the way our opposition is behaving.
Absolutely. Mr. Mani, what's your assessment of the situation? And you know, one thing is definitely certain, that age-old conflicts do not resolve just by putting pressure you know, on the government to expedite it. It's a very, very sensitive matter. You know, traditions and sensitivities of two communities are at stake here, and this is something which is age-old. It goes back decades, perhaps even centuries now. What do you think of the current situation, and can you, in fact, fault the government for, the time lapse that we have seen when it comes to these crises in Manipur?
Let me put certain things in fact. They're all facts on public record. I think the Congress handling of such things in Manipur, Beena Lakshmi Nephrem would have rebutted much better. She suffered. There are many such, Iram Sharmila, everybody. That is the way they were handling it. That was a failure. Their approach was a total failure. 2014 onward to 2021-22, the Northeast had seen a lot of improvement, development, progress, peace and infrastructure. Having said that, thereafter, Mahua Maitra going there and flagging Manipur as soon as he comes to the 18th Lok Sabha is constituted is a very important factor. The reason is India insurgents group of the Northeast have always operated out of certain underprivileged areas, underground areas of Bengal, both in Bangladesh and and they have a lot of support. This is a validated fact. Number two, that is also one of the source of problems in West Bengal, which we are not looking at. Otherwise, the source of the problem is more or less said to disrupt the development chariot of the present government. For the last 10 years, we have had a lot of rapid development, both in Northeast and other part of the country, and Look East policy, and there are so many things which are innovative, new emerging areas are coming up. So there are a lot of forces trying to disrupt that. That's the reason this is. There is a linkage. Let us not wish it off. You solve Manipur, then the next step of resolution will be in Bengal. So that is the reason, out of hand, out of any provocation, she had gone there. I do not impute any motives. It is a political agenda maybe. I have absolutely no thing about it. Having said that, it is still the point that Manipur, a new fresh approach has started. The Honorable Prime Minister has said. He has also reconstituted more or less the same team with somebody like additional NSA, Rajinder Khanna, is a very, very veteran in solving these conflicts. And I am sure there will be a new approach, lot of prosperity. The drugs have been busted, as my earlier speaker has pointed out, Mr. Sumit P. The development was happening for a major part of the last 10 years, only last 2-3 years. Deliberate disruption of the development agenda had started. We do not know whether it was from the Arakan's region or whether it was the Chinese or it was the footprints of India Insurgents Group operating, which is again Tirupati to Pashupati is their agenda. It's again operating out of Bangladesh, but they are Chinese-centered. They also get into disruptions in Bengal. They also get into disruptions in Assam, Eastern District, Tripura, somewhere Mizoram. They create within the state conflicts. You have seen Mizoram and Manipur fighting, Mizoram and Kachar district fighting. So these type of disruptions they are continuing to do. So it has to be seen holistically, and I'm sure the resolution will be much more comprehensive. You cannot simply have a one-stitch policy for a 9-level wound. So it will be more a comprehensive thing. We do not want a Beena Lakshmi nephrum or somebody to be injured permanently or protecting or disruption. That is the idea. We should be a peaceful, holistic and all encompassing solution model, and I'm sure this will come out with it. Thank you.
Right,
you,
all right. But Sumit P, you're definitely in a position to talk about how the opposition, in fact, is not looking at the solution. They're always looking at the half glass empty. You know, the slew of, targets that in fact were thrown at the ruling government definitely speak of one element and one element alone, that all the progress that has been made in Manipur in the last 1 year or so is not being noticed.
Vineet, I would answer your question in two parts. It's a brilliant question you asked. First of all, remember when we found lithium in around Jammu area, around Riyasi area, I told you that on NewsX, give it 6 months, you will see that area heating up. It will be made into a boiling pot, and that is exactly we are seeing all the new attacks are happening around that belt only, where you found the biggest lithium reserves, which makes India the number 3rd country vis-a-vis lithium reserves. There are more reserves which are not announced, and we only announced the reserves when that rail link was built. So what you see in Riyasi and the things around that is not natural. Why did they choose Riyasi? Because they don't want that area to be operable. They don't want the lithium to come out. They want it to be a disturbed area. That's point number 1. Now, when development happens, when the drugs are busted and when the things happen, there are enemy states, there are hostile states which gets very ill. They want to do something to stop the wheels of progress. They want this alienation. They want this glass walls to exist. They don't want that to break. And so far as Ms. Mahua Mitra is concerned, let me remind her, did she speak on Sandesh Khali? Did she speak on Sheikh Shah Jahan? No. Did she speak on the latest? We've seen videos on the, this Twitter all on Vineet. A woman is beaten in a Talibani style. Is this what, she is going to represent? Has she spoken on that? Has she spoken about the Muslim MP calling out as a Muslim Rashtra here? We'll do as we want. Though this selective outrage, when your own house is boiling, when things are going from bad to worse, and Manish has rightly pointed out that the link between the insurgent groups in Northeast and in West Bengal, doesn't she know about that? Doesn't she know the infiltration happening from Bangladesh? Look at the plight of law and order in West Bengal. Look at the plight of women, how they are targeted in broad daylight, how these kind of kangaroo courts are running there. And there is not a word on that, but a Manipur, which has been a perennial problem, which has been brought under control. You want to see Manipur. When the Honorable Prime Minister was speaking, what were they saying? Manipur, justice. What justice? What have you done all these years? How did you let Northeast boil? Today you are icked because Northeast is doing things. Today you are icked because Sikkim has become the epicenter of, organic farming. There is a Bangladesh, the Chittagong port is open for the Northeast as a corridor which has been built. Railway connectivity, every part of the Northeast is connected with the airports today, which was not happening. I have been to Mizoram, Vineet, and when I landed there, I needed a permit. It was 10, 15, 20 years back. I was shaken. I said, why do I need a permit? Tomorrow, don't tell me I need a visa. I said, nahi saab, yeah, permit chahiye. So I had to manage a permit, and somebody come and took me up. We have seen those days of Northeast, and we have seen today's Northeast. Things have changed. But out of everybody, if Jairam Ramesh ji is quoting Mahua Mitra ji, I think that is the level of discourse which has gone with Congress. Right. You have lost it, guys. Sorry.
Let me quickly also, of course, I want Joyita to respond to what Sumit P said. And Joyita, of course, Mahua Mitra was in fact very emphatic when she spoke of Mahua Mitra. In fact, before her, the opposition really did not touch upon anything related to Manipur, but it was Mahua Mitra of the TMC who brought that up and in fact, gave that explosive statement on how the government has not mentioned Manipur at all. How do you respond to that?
Well, the thing is, as I'm again going to say, Mahua Mitra should better be concentrating on what is happening right next door instead of thinking about, yes, it is good that she brought up the issue, but the sheer hypocrisy of this is astounding, because you see someone like her who kind of says that I'm fiery, she gives fiery speeches and all. It is only when it is directed at the ruling government. She has nothing to say to her chief minister, that her revered, respected chief minister. that, madam, what is happening right next door inside 200-300 kilometers of Calcutta, the capital of Bengal, she has nothing to say on that. So frankly, and given her track record, the allegations against her, given the investigation that is going on against her, and if she is found guilty, well, all I can say is that, you know, it's okay to have you know, a lot of sound and fury in parliament, but the substance, that becomes the problem. Where is the substance? I mean, in terms of an MP, what about ethics, what about integrity? When you are seeking something from another, when you are trying to make someone else accountable, you know, it's the same case of when you are pointing one finger or two fingers at another person, four fingers are pointing back to you. So Mahua Moitro's is a case of that, you know. In the course of the investigation, if something is found against her, then frankly all this sheen that she thinks that she has regained will be lost. So I don't really know whether I can take Mahua Moitro seriously, but yes, it is good that she raised the topic, nothing beyond that.
All right, Mohammad Ali Shah, apart from the polity and the discussion and the back and forth that's going to happen between the central government and the opposition, which is going to continue to, because the opposition finds itself rejuvenated and re-galvanized, what is the long-term solution when it comes to Manipur? Are there any out-of-the-box ideas, according to you, that the government must consider? Should they be speaking to people just like yourself to articulate a solution which is not only permanent but also an example for disturbances which can be found in other parts of the country as well?
Right, Vineet, firstly, addressing what Manish Saab said about Bina Lakshmi Nefram, I had the honor of interviewing her. She told me the entire story. Interview is there on my YouTube channel there. She told the entire story about when she was wounded and what the foundation she founded thereafter. And she's a Maitei lady. She's got reasonable views. She's a Maitei lady, but yet she doesn't talk hatred. Now the very fact of the venom between the Kuki and the Maiteis, it's gone a bit too far. And addressing what my dear friend Sumit P said, yes, I agree with him that schools and colleges are functioning. There's no doubt about that. But that's exactly my point. That's what I said. When you segregate them in Imphal, the schools and colleges, you will not find a single Kuki studying or teaching over there. The former DGP of Manipur, Dongel Saab, his cousin was the SP in Kohima in Nagaland way back when I was there in 2005. He was removed from his post. The deputy, the additional DGP was a Kuki. Now the very fact is, even Kukis who are holding the top to the top appointments, people came up with names over there that they are outsiders and they are this and they are that. Tell me one thing, had they been outsiders, then the government would have appointed an outsider as the head of the state. No. So everyone is as Indian over there as possible. Now, addressing the issue of what Sumit P said about the Christian state being made, well, there are Maites also who are Christians, and they would be having names like Rohan or Laishram Raju Singh. They are Muslims who are also Maites. They are Pangals. Like in 1970, Muhammad Ali Muddin was the chief minister of Manipur. He was a Pangal. Now the very fact is the Nagas are also Christian. So it's not about the religious thing. It's about...
Understood. Ali, you have a great point there, Ali. You have a great point.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.